Okay, so it's the 2nd of October. It's exactly 9:45 a.m. If you can see that, 2025. I'm recording a little earlier today in the ride than I typically do because you guys have seen this part. Whew, I'm already a couple miles into the ride. Still in pedal assist 0, which is great. Bike isn't squeaking as much, which is good. And as far as I can tell, I fixed the motor problem. And so yesterday, pardon me, real short video, because I started having an error code on the computer of this e-bike. Pardon me, I got hiccups all of a sudden. And once I got the error code, I spent a lot of time troubleshooting it, trying to see what the problem was, etc. Got back, put the bike up, jumped online to see if I could find what exactly the issue was. First, I just plugged in the model of the bike. Oh, sorry, I thought somebody was coming up behind me. It was a duck quacking off in the distance. Sorry, that was another noise I thought was a, what do you call it? I thought it was a bicycle bell coming up behind me. Turns out it's the bird off in the distance. That's the problem with wearing earbuds while you ride. You hear noises, but you're not exactly sure what the noises are. So, anywho, I just plugged in the name of the bike and the error code that I ran across, hoping it would just take me to the website where that error code was discussed and possible solutions. It did not. Took me to the support page, which did not address it. So I sent them an email with a copy of yesterday's video. But then I scrolled down a little further on search results and saw a YouTube channel. One of the YouTube shorts, like the equivalent of a TikTok, where the guy says, you know, this is pretty basic on all e-bikes, but if you get an 03 error, hey squirrel, a 03 error, not a O, but if you get a 03 error, it means something is wrong with the communication between the computer and the motor. Okay. So I didn't go look at it yesterday. I was just still kind of annoyed. I went and chatted with a girl that lives in my building. We ended up hanging out for a couple hours, having lunch and stuff. We agree probably 65-70% politically. And this guy came along, and he's a nice guy, don't get me wrong. I think I've mentioned him before. He's got I've met him a few times. He very much into the arts. According to him, he used to own an art studio in Oklahoma. According to him, he used to be a roadie for some bands, or at least a local one, where he would work with local theaters in Oklahoma and set up for bands and stuff when they came into town, etc. Because I was talking about my favorite band one day, and he's like, yeah, I've partied with them. I've smoked weed with so-and-such. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, I was a roadie. I was like, oh, okay, didn't know that. But then I had another guy, I was wearing an AC/DC shirt the other day. He said the same thing about AC/DC. He's like, yeah, I used to party with those guys. Oh, we'll try. Coming up on your left. Excuse me. But, yeah, so he came up to the conversation, heard whatever he heard, and started talking about how great it is that we're making all this money with tariffs. So we tried to explain to him how tariffs work. They are a de facto sales tax on the consumer. And he's like, no, businesses pay it. Yes, businesses pay it. But then they don't absorb those costs. They don't reduce their profits. They pass those costs along to the consumer by raising prices, which is a de facto tax. He's like, no, businesses pay it. Foreign countries, like the businesses of foreign countries pay it. Like, no, dude. China is not paying for Trump's tariffs. The companies that import from China are paying those tariffs. Hey, puppy. What's up? Hi. Yeah, that's me doing all the squeaking. And he just kept going, no, you're wrong. And I'm like, no. And then she's like, no. Tariffs are paid by the consumer. And he looked at her and then he looked right back at me and kind of dismissed the fact that she was even there and just kept talking to me. And I'm like, no, dude, she's 100% right. The consumer pays the tariff. Like, ultimately pays the tariff. And he's like, well, the tariffs don't affect me. And I'm like, of course they don't. You live in this low-income building. You are a permanent resident here, not somebody like me who's just here for a couple of months while I look for a better place. You don't buy anything. On the occasion that you have to buy, sorry, that bike came up behind me, it did the ding ding, and then I heard another ding, so I looked behind me. I'm guessing he was dinging for the runner here. But yeah, excuse me. If anybody knows how I can reduce this squeak, because I do think I narrowed it down to the center. I say center shock because it's directly below me, but the rear shock. Like, I don't want to use WD-40 because WD-40 just collects, grime. It collects dirt. It's great if you have to, unstick something, but it's not great as a lubricant. So I'm thinking maybe the silicone WD-40 or something similar. That way water and grime and rust and stuff won't ever happen. But if you know a better answer, throw it down there in the comments. I appreciate it. But yeah, so trying to explain to him how tariffs work, and he's just doing all that was a dead rat. He's just explaining all the Trump talking points without understanding how basic economics works. And he said, oh yeah, how did he say it? He goes, yeah, the tariffs really don't affect me because my expenditure on weed hasn't gone up. And I'm like, that's because weed is grown locally. It literally cannot be transported across state lines. It cannot be imported internationally. So no, it's not going to affect you. He's like, well, see, then tariffs aren't a problem. I'm like, they're a problem for hundreds of millions of other Americans. Grocery prices have gone up. Car prices have gone up. I said, Ford already released a statement saying that the tariffs have wiped out any chance of a profit this year. GM has already issued a press release stating that the tariffs have cost them over $1 billion in profit so far this year. So, yeah, tariffs matter. Because even if it's a tariff on the paint color or the dye for, a paint color, and that paint color is used or needs to be imported for industrial purposes or whatever, then it raises prices. And when those prices raise, every price downstream until it gets to the consumer is raised. That's just how they work. He's like, no, you don't understand. And I'm like, yes, I do, dude. This is basic economics. And the girl I was talking to, she was getting riled up. Like, I'm trying to remain my calm, keep composure, just like have an intelligent conversation. She got riled up. She started slamming her hand on the table. She started, my first thought was, wow, this woman's fierce, right? Like, she knows where she's at and she will not be backed into a corner or disagreed with because she knows she's right. And I agreed with her 100%. But again, low-income building. You know, people are all on drugs. People have mental illnesses. It's one of the reasons I try not to fight with anybody in the building. So, just because we're here, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to go across this bridge and ride on the west side of the river. We're going to stay on the east side, because my plan yesterday was to go down to the football stadium and then go west to Sloan's Lake Park. We haven't done that, and I thought it might be fun. Now, it will be a lot of stop and go because there's going to be a lot of intersections, a lot of red lights, stop signs, things like that. But at least it'll be different. And you'll get to see a whole different side of the Denver area. Not this clean-cut, manicured, crisp, you know, picturesque part. But the dirty, you know, needs some upkeep, needs some infrastructure spending. Not quite historic, but older neighborhoods. You'll get to see that part. And we'll talk about it as we go down the road there. But I'm just giving you a heads up. That's what the plan was yesterday, so that's what the plan is today. But yeah, dude ended up walking away. And she, when he did, you know, the girl I was talking to was like, wow. She goes, I didn't realize I was going to get that upset. And I'm like, yeah. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I get upset too, but I try to maintain my calm because, you know, and I told her, I said, there's a lot of mental illnesses here. I'm not trying to get any of these people raging mad at me because I said the wrong thing at the wrong time and they threw a fit. Oops. I'm gonna sneak through here. Whew. 19th Street, okay. But yeah, so anywho, that was an interesting conversation. And this is a guy that I'm friendly with. I wouldn't say we're friends, I'll just say I'm friendly with him. Whew. This is a little uphill I wasn't prepped for. Else I would have been going a little faster. I'm still in pedal assist 0. Whew. And that's a bike behind me. And the first bike looked like the guy had a bullet cam of some sort on his helmet. And this is uphill. I'm going to go ahead and pedal assist 1 just to help me out here. Hey puppies. Hi. Whew. Oh, they were riding Hemway bikes. I looked at those. They came up in a bunch of ads when I was researching e-bikes. But they seem very similar to this one in structure. But they had a weaker motor, not only in quote-unquote horsepower, wattage, but also in torque. So, being a fat butt, I decided to go with the heavier duty bike. So, yeah. So, anywho, yeah, I ended up hanging out with her for a couple hours yesterday, and then ran to Sam's Club to see if they had any beet juice or beet supplements, because I don't know, I was just curious if my nitric oxide levels are high enough in my blood, because I am getting older. Oop, excuse me. Hi puppy, hi. So yeah, I'm not pedaling at the moment, I'm just letting gravity do its thing. But yeah, a lot of stuff is happening politically at the national level, of course, because, you elect a criminal clown and you get a criminal circus. You know, so that's happening. And I'm just watching it all burn. I'm watching because I'm like, yeah, Democrats had their chance to rectify some of this and they didn't. And I don't have faith that they can do it the next time either. If they ever win again. Hi, puppy. What's up? Hi. You know, Republicans aren't doing anything. You know, I think they're all just collectively in their bathroom masturbating every time Donald Trump talks and trying to convince themselves that their masturbation is actually something they were looking forward to doing. It's like, ooh, look at me, I'm the bigger sycophant. Oh, no, I'm the bigger sycophant. Oh, no, look at this. Look at how hard I am. I'm the bigger sycophant. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. Oops. So, yeah, whatever. Just gonna watch it all burn. I'm gonna watch all these Republicans, because right now it's farmers, but pretty soon it's gonna be, you know, well, small business owners have already started going under because of, I thought about going across this bridge, but I think I'm just gonna go straight here. You know, we've been hearing for months about farmers possibly going, oh, there's a woman laying in the rocks over there. Like, there's got to be better places to lay than on the rocks. Again, I don't have a problem with the homelessness. I have a problem with the litter and the fact that the richest nation on the world has as many homeless people as we have. It should not be happening. But as long as politicians are making sure billionaires are taken care of, nobody's taking care of the bottom people. So yeah. Yeah, it's gotten super squeaky again. It started off not being so squeaky, but now it's super squeaky again. So I apologize for that. I'm gonna have to figure out a way. But yeah. But when Donald Trump first started his tariff thing back in January, a lot of small businesses went under. You know, lots of YouTube channels and TikTok channels about, you know, people who had home businesses or who, you know, were at the $100,000 a year mark or something, you know, just selling their whatnots and whizzy bangs online. Talking about how with the tariffs, the price to import their supplies has gone up exponentially, and the products that they were selling for like $5 and $7, you know, nobody was going to pay, you know, $30 for these because of the tariffs of importing them. And it's like, yeah, exactly. Now you understand that when you voted for tax cuts for the rich and damnation for the poor, nobody cared about you. And when you voted for tax, when you voted to tax foreign companies by using tariffs, you voted to put yourself out of business. So congratulations. But right now it's hitting the farming community, and it will cascade from there. Because Donald Trump has said, we're not spending this money. And the Supreme Court has said, yeah, you know, the president has the right to decide how money is spent, even though it's appropriated and earmarked by Congress, who is the deciding factor on how money is spent. That's literally how pedophile Trump was impeached the first time. Was by not doing what Congress said. But, you know, this Republican Congress is sitting there, like I said, they're just off in the corner stroking themselves, trying to prove how sycophantic they can be towards Donald Trump. And here we are. We're gonna watch the world burn. We're gonna watch the world move on while the United States is sitting here like de-evolving into or evolving negatively, because there's no such thing as de-evolving, there's just evolving. but evolving in a negative manner. And that's even if we get, free and fair elections next time, because Donald Trump's already said he wants to control the elections, which by the Constitution are administered by the state. And the states, administer them at the county level. But he said he wants to control it, which means he wants to control the outcome. Because as everybody knows, it's not who controls the votes, it's who controls the counting of the votes. There's already some gurgling about last year's election, where I talked about this before, where some statisticians came in and said the election results were a statistic aberration from what we would expect to see, and therefore should be investigated more closely. But do you think the Trump administration is going to investigate if people were rigging the elections to make him win? No. Because for Donald Trump, it's all about Donald Trump. Whew. So I'm 5 miles into the ride so far today, or 5 miles since I turned on the camera anyway. Ish. So this is about as far as I would have got had I continued riding yesterday. But again, 80-pound bike. I was not looking to pedal too far. I'm already having problems because I'm fat and out of shape. Whew. Oops. It's okay. I mean, that was a fair reaction. She tried to adjust. I tried to adjust. We both adjusted the right way. Then we both counter-adjusted. Yeah, fair reaction. Probably hear the sirens there. Cops throughout my building like every day this week, at least once. Sometimes more than once. And then there was one day, we'll go this way. Last time we went counterclockwise. This side's more scenic, so we'll go this way this time. Little workout area here. But yeah. And then there was a guy who, I came back from wherever I went the other day, and there was 3 private security, armed private security, standing around a guy sitting on the sidewalk. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Sorry, I think a bug went up my nose. But yeah, and they were there when I parked, when I pulled in and I parked. They were there when I walked in the building. They were there when I got up to my place and looked out the window. Oops. So, yeah, I didn't know the guy that they were surrounding. I didn't see what was going on. I have no idea what was happening. So, yeah, for what it's worth, it happened. I just don't know what. We have to get over there to Colfax. This road straight ahead is federal, I believe, which we can go up here, follow the street. I was just kind of curious if there was another way for pedestrians to get over to Colfax over there without having to go out of my way here. But yeah, cops there every day, security, doing whatever security's doing. And then a guy that got kicked out of the building was sitting in the lobby yesterday. And he got kicked out. He was like me, another veteran, except he was there. He was also there temporarily while he looked for another place to live. And he, I remember the day he got kicked out because he is apparently an alcoholic, and he is a violent alcoholic. He got stupid drunk, middle of the day, started screaming and yelling, throwing a tantrum. When staff asked him to calm down, I didn't know this part. I found this out yesterday when I was like, I thought he got kicked out. But apparently when staff asked him to calm down, he punched one of the staff members. So they got rid of him. which is fair. I mean, we're all veterans. We all have our issues. Oops, that was the wrong way. Sorry, this is all uphill. I was downshifting to see if I could make it any better. And that's when I was like, oops, I accidentally upshifted. But I just went ahead and put it in pedal assist 2, just for giggles. So, but yeah, he got kicked out. He rode away on his bicycle with his backpack, and that was it. But he was sitting down there yesterday. I don't know what the deal was. All right, so the light just turned to stop, so we'll go this way. And we'll down the pedal assist. I don't think he's moving back in the building. I think what happened is, because he not only did that, but before that, right about the time I moved in, he, oops, well, that's happened. I was going to cut across the street real quick while there was no traffic, but big set of traffic was coming the other way. Yeah, so I need to cross. And there's nowhere to cross over here. So we are going to catch chili that time of year. Hey puppy, what's up? Yeah, I know, good dog. So hopefully I can cross right now, or here in a second. Yep, I can cross this way. Nobody's coming to run me over. I can cross this way. Nobody's coming to run me over. But yeah, but apparently what'll happen is if you do get kicked out and you cannot take everything with you, they will hold on to it for like 30 days for you to get your to where you're going and everything, so to figure it out. But yeah, so I'm assuming maybe he just came back for his private stuff, which is fair. His van lifer. I'm tired of the squeaking. I'm so tired of the squeaking. So that was, unnecessary drama yesterday. I mean, from what I could tell, nothing really happened. No fights were had, no arguments were made, blah, blah, blah. But I am going to go this way because I did want to ride down Colfax, just because Colfax is a major artery in Denver. At one point, I'm not sure if it still qualifies, but at one point it was the longest municipal road or whatever in the country. Oh, no outlet. I guess we have to go up a block and then maybe go find Colfax. Another van lifer over there. That's an interesting building. That just kind of square one right there. Doesn't look like a house, but there's no signs up there to pretend that it's a building of any particular size or a business or anything. Sorry. I'm looking around at all these little duplexes and stuff, wondering how much they are, if I can afford it. Because I did look at a place over here on the other side of Sloan's Lake a few years ago and came dangerously close to signing the lease. The problem was they had some terms in the lease, and it was privately owned. It was a privately owned, not a corporate owned apartment building. Oops. I'm gonna go up and around over here. So yeah. So this is Colfax, as you can probably tell by that street sign right there. I don't believe there are any dedicated bike lanes. And as you can tell, there's construction and stuff, so I'm not gonna jump out there in traffic. I'm gonna stay on the sidewalk. So, yeah. They're trying to revamp it a little bit, I guess. I don't know what they're doing down the middle other than maybe beautifying. But up here, they've done some stuff they can't widen the roads. I mean, the sidewalks and buildings and stuff are already there. There's a lot of buildings over here, though. They are really trying to gentrify this area. Because this was, since I've lived in Colorado, this was one of the many areas that they would tell you not to go to. because of all the crime and grime. I've been down here a bunch of times. Not daily, not even monthly, but I've been down here a bunch of times, and I've never had a problem. I've talked to strangers. They've always been friendly. Oops. Excuse me. But yeah, you can see the crime or the grime here. You know, there's just stuff like that. There's, you know, buildings that are empty. Denver's finest steam baths, apparently. But apparently some cultures, you know, are okay with that, and that's not really an American thing. But, you know, Denver is very diverse. Denver and Aurora, anyway. Ooh, there's a sex shop, apparently. Totally missed that. Liquor stores. And then you're probably going to see a bunch of little, like, hotels, like, you know, mom and pop hotels, you know, by the hour or very cheap by the night places. So, yeah. And you can tell the sidewalks are not in the best shape, just by all the shaky, jerky. Everybody's got fences to deter thievery. I guess this might have been a small car lot at one point, maybe. And then, I don't remember which building it was, and I apologize for that. But a few years ago, when I still lived with, how much you're asking for that? Problem is, I'll get into that in a second. But, and this guy's just blocked in progress. So we'll go around. He's just sitting there in his car. He's not pulled up and parking or anything. He's just sitting there on the curb. This is, okay, just make sure nobody's coming out of there to hit me, because I'm allergic to being hit by cars. But it might have been like this building, or a building very similar, one of these gentrified buildings like this. But a woman I used to live with had a coworker that lived in one of these buildings. And I've only been to it once, and that was to clear out his stuff. So apparently what happened was, he didn't show up for work for a couple of days. His director sent a manager to figure out what was going on with this guy, because he was, you know, just like me. He's single. He lives in a state where he has no family. I guess he wasn't dating anybody, and nobody knew how to contact him if he wasn't answering emails or phone calls. So they, you know, went through the HR records and sent somebody over to find him. And they found him. And apparently he had hung himself in his room, or his place. And it's one of these buildings right around here. Actually, I think that might be Stanley. Oh, I think this used to be a Starbucks. It is a Starbucks. Okay, I've been here. Oops, excuse me. It's like, damn, dude, take up the whole parking lot, or the whole sidewalk. But, yeah, it was one of these buildings around here somewhere. One of the taller ones, not one of these 3-level ones. One of these taller, more expensive ones. Like, you know, this kind of area I wouldn't mind living in. It's not exactly what I'm looking for, but I wouldn't mind it. We'll get on the street. There's not a lot of traffic. But I believe this is Stanley Park, straight ahead where the trees are. That's why I cut through. Or Sloan's Lake Park, not Stanley Park. Frick. Anywho, yeah, so because he didn't have any family, he didn't have anybody around, he didn't have a girlfriend, he didn't have a close friend group that anybody knew of, a bunch of the co-workers went down there and helped empty his apartment of his goods, because it was, you know, all of his property needs to be out of the unit or by this date, or they were just going to toss it. So his mom and sister flew into town apparently to help, which is fine. I mean, they were going to be the ones with the stuff anyway. And we took a bunch of stuff on my trailer down to the Goodwill and donated it. But yeah, it was a thing. So this is Stanley. Oh, there are stop signs on the other side. This is Sloan Lakes Park. I don't know why I keep wanting to call it Stanley Lake Park. Sloan Lake Park. This is Sloan Lake. It's a nice park. It's a big park. Not as big as Wash Park, and definitely not as big as Cherry Creek State Park, which I lived next to for 2 decades. And we're going to slow down the pedal assist here, just go around the lake. I'm only at 7 miles total, so we've still got some ways to go. So 7.2, we're going to see how much it is to go all the way around. Hey, puppy. Wow. Pedal Assist 1 doesn't feel like much after you've been in Pedal Assist 2. Some dude over there trying to do a photo shoot with his dog. I think that's a bicycle lane over there, which under other circumstances I might jump on the bicycle lane, but I wanted to be on this path for my first time around. Ugh. Burning thighs. And I did a lot of, not a lot, but let's see, 10 times 4 times 2. So 80 squats this morning at the gym. And they're not like squats with the barbell on my back or anything like that. They're squats with, actually here. I will get right here. And I'm going to bump up the pedal assist because I just feel like going faster. But, yeah. I don't remember what I was saying. Oh, squats. Yeah, I did a bunch of squats. Then they're not barbell squats where you have the bar on your back and you're squatting extra weight. They're body weight squats. And I do them. So one of the things I do when I exercise, is, especially at the gym, is I do an upper body exercise and a lower body exercise. Upper body exercise, lower body exercise. Gives the upper body a chance to relax while giving the lower body a chance to, get some blood flow and build some muscles and stuff. And that's what I was doing this morning. And I was doing these assisted squats because I have back issues. I can't do squats. But I still use probably 2/3 of my body weight when I'm doing them. So, but I did, probably like, between 2 different variations, I did like 80-ish. Because sometimes I lose track of, or I lose count and I just start going through and doing, and I do another set or something, or I add a few more or whatever. Whew. And as you can tell, the leaves are changing colors, which is always nice. Well, I mean, it's nice to look at, but it's a harbinger of, oh, that house is all boarded up. I wonder if they're out of town or if they sold it or if it was condemned. Interesting. And then you got houses like this one off to my right that are, giant windows facing the lake. And you can walk out your front door and across the street and be, have this giant public property right next to you. Yeah. Anyway. So, I see a guy on a bicycle over here, so I'm hoping it's okay for me to. Maybe at least stay over here for a minute. But yeah. So, when my thigh is burning after all the squatty things I did earlier. So right here in this parking lot to my right-hand side. Last time I came to this park, I was with a friend. We parked in this lot right here. We came for a festival, but we couldn't find it. It wasn't like in any of these areas. So we ended up walking around the park counterclockwise here, only to find out it was way over there where I came in. which isn't even halfway around the park yet. I'll let you know when we hit the halfway point, like we're halfway around the lake. But they, excuse me. But he, normally I don't care. I walk everywhere anyway. And these days I bicycle everywhere. But he's the one that has the cancer. He can't move very fast. He can't, do anything extraneous because it might require him to have to breathe heavy or take a deep breath. And, with lung cancer, he just can't do that. So fast forward. And we're walking around much slower than I would have preferred, but, do what you can. And he, but when we were leaving, we finished the trek around the park, got to the lot there. Hey, puppy. And he just, keep in mind, not only is he on chemo medicine, but he's also on a ton of THC. He got to the point where, he couldn't function without being high. And his mom made some homemade gummies because he could no longer smoke. And they were powerful. I'd take 2 and forget I had bones in my body. You just kind of so relaxed. You just forget that you're alive. Or forget that the universe exists. And he's like, oh yeah, I take 25 or 30 a day. And it's what? So, he's not only, on his medications, but he's THC'd up. And he's just going slow and everything. And then we get there. He drove because he had a smaller car than I do. A little Buick wagon thing that's about the length of my outspread arms. Or not a wagon, a little tiny thing, hatchback thing, about the width of my outspread arms, or the length of my outspread arms. I'm just doing this to show you guys, plus I've never been out here. But he went to pull out of the parking space, and he didn't look both ways. He just put it in reverse and went, and he ended up hitting the car behind him. And I was like, he's like, did I just hit somebody? And I was like, I think you hit the car behind us, dude. He's like, because all he had to do was turn the wheel. That's all he had to do. Turn the wheel. He would have been fine. But he tried to back out straight, and he couldn't. And he got out, and he looked at the vehicle he hit. I didn't get out. I didn't look. I didn't want to, if somebody called the police or whatever, I didn't want to be a witness. But he's like, it's fine, and he got in the car and drove away, and I'm like, okay. So then, we get back to his mom's house, and he goes downstairs or whatever he does, maybe go to use the bathroom, maybe to go whatever, because he had it was a finished downstairs basement, and he had the downstairs to himself. And his mom's asking me how everything went, and I was like, yeah, it was fun, blah, 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 but take a look at your car. And she's like, why? And I said, well, he hit a car in a parking lot, and he drove away. I didn't get out and look at it, so I don't know if your car suffered any damage, but you might want to take a look at the car. See if there's a scratch or a dent or something you need to know about. And she's like, okay. I don't know. I was never told one way or another if she even looked or if there was any kind of issue. So the other day when I came down for a massage, I actually ended up coming down this road over here to my right-hand side because I was trying to cut across without hitting Colfax. And, the place that I was going was on Colfax, but I thought it might have been quicker to go through some of these neighborhood roads than to go around, hitting all the traffic and stuff on Colfax. And squeaky, squeaky, squeaky. And then I turn left up here where you can see the traffic. Go around. Oops, excuse me. Hi, puppy. So yeah. That was the last time I was here, and that was last summer. So over a year ago. Because that guy and I don't talk too much anymore because I gave him a lot of leeway that I would not normally give people because of his cancer. Like, I spent a lot of time compromising myself in order to make sure that he was having an okay time, that he was not stressed, that he, was getting the best enjoyment out of life he could. But he would just get into these moods, especially after the weed took effect. I don't know if he had social anxiety, but he would always start popping more gummies while we were out doing whatever. And then he, and then he'd try to get, he'd start crying about why he couldn't get a girl to date him, and, about how he wouldn't say girl, he wouldn't say woman, he wouldn't say lady. He'd be like, why won't, B words date me? Why won't B words go out with me? Why can't I find a nice B to take care of me? And it's like, he's like, you think it's the cancer? Do you think women are scared of cancer? And I said, yeah, probably, to some extent. He goes, how can you say that? I'm still me, I'm still a person. And I'm like, I understand that. But, a lot of women want long-term commitments. And unfortunately, with somebody with stage 4 cancer, you can't promise a long-term commitment. So, we had this conversation numerous times because every time he'd get high, he would go there. And I'm like, yeah, you can't promise a long-term relationship when you can't promise to be around, next month, next year, or next whatever. He's like, well, should I stop telling him I have cancer? And I'm like, that wouldn't be fair to them. He's like, I know, that's the problem I have. And I'm like, I know, and it's something I think you should be upfront with. Because I think there are still women out there who would still happily date you. I didn't tell him this, but I'm like, he's a decent looking dude. I've had women that I introduced him with be like, oh yeah, he's good looking. He's an asshole. He calls women B words. He doesn't call them women. He doesn't call them ladies. Doesn't call them girls. He calls them B words. And, and then he gets on his high horse about how he treats women. Wow, there are dead rats everywhere. Like, I've gone years, decades even, in the Denver metro area with only seeing 1 or 2 rats ever. And on this ride today alone, I've seen like 3 or 4 dead ones now. So I don't know if they're poisoning rats, if the city or the county is doing something, because it's city and county of Denver. And I honestly couldn't tell you if they operate with separate budgets or not, or if it's just all the same. So I'm not going to go to the left because there's too many pedestrians, runners, and things like that. So we're going to go this way. But yeah, I looked at a place to the right here. I looked at a place a few blocks that way a few years ago. And they're the ones that just had a contract that I just could not agree to sign because of some of the clauses. And she's like, well, we won't enforce this. I just downloaded it from the internet. And I'm like, I understand that. But if you decide you don't like me, or you want to raise rent, or you think you can get more money for the unit, and I'm doing something in here that you disagree with, then you have a legal recourse to kick me out, and I'm not going to put myself in that situation. If you want to put an addendum in there that says, hey, we will not enforce this, or we will not enforce this except under certain circumstances, and list those circumstances, we'll be fine. And she goes, I have other people that'll sign this. And I'm like, then go find one. And needless to say, I don't think they're going to sign me again. But you have to look out for yourself. But yeah, this guy, he's like, yeah, he goes, I need a woman who understands her place. Or I need a B that understands her place. I need a B that knows, she needs to make my dinner. She needs to keep my house clean. She needs to do my laundry. She needs to do this. She needs to do that. And I'm like, dude, you're not looking for a girlfriend or a partner. You're looking for a mother, and you already have one of those. And sure enough, he told me flat out, his mom, he was 38 years old, 39 years old. He's like, but he lived in his mom's basement, but he's like, yeah, my mom does my laundry. My mom does this. My mom does that. And I'm like, you are 38 years old. You are 39 years old. You can do your own laundry. He's like, why would I? She does it. So, you know, the man child, the one that never grew up, but he wants to be, he demands to be treated like a man while he acts like a child. And it just astounds me. And he's not the first person I've run across with that mentality, and it just astounds me. A couple of months ago at the gym, there was a guy, you know, we all signed the same contract. Says we will not bang the equipment around. Okay. So instead of hitting Colfax, let's see, I was at 7.2, coming up on the tennis courts here, which is where I look down. So even if it's 7.1, but 7.2, and we were at 10 even right now. So roughly 3 miles around this park. So, yeah, that's what it is. And we're going to go back. We're just not going to take Colfax. We're going to take whatever this is, probably 17th or something. We'll take that down. And then we'll try to see where we're at, because I'm at 10 miles right now. We'll try to see where we're at on mileage. And, you know, if we have to ride around for a little bit to hit 20, because after only hitting 5 yesterday, I'd like to hit a little bit more. Hey, puppy. So, yeah, that dog did not give a crap about me. He's like, I'm sniffing the bushes, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm like, fair enough, dude. There you go. I do like these wheels on these Chevys, though. I try to find some every once in a while when I have a little bit extra money, just to put online, or just to put on my my truck. Okay, well, you guys are all stopped and not moving, so I'm going to move. Like, I'm not asking you to give me the right of way. I'm just asking you to make a frickin' decision. But yeah, so, and this should take us straight back to Mile High Stadium. I was like, what is it called? Is it Invesco Field? Is it something field? Is it something? I don't know. Where the Broncos play. That's all I know. I don't watch sports. I don't care. Like I tell people all the time, you want to go throw the football? I'll happily go outside and throw the football with you. But I don't want to sit there all day and watch people play a sport. But yeah, so I was at the gym a few months ago. And this guy, you know, we all signed the same contract. The contract states that you will not abuse the equipment, you will not slam equipment, you will not drop equipment, etc. Now, there's always caveats, you know, you get a little sweaty, you lose your grip, whatever, accidents happen. Everyone understands that. Oh, there's, this is happening. And I'm getting a phone call. I'm going to have to call him back, even though I don't want to. How can I get through here? So I was asking the stop sign guy, because normally I would have tried to go around a little bit. I guess I can. Oh, I can go this way. But he slammed down, you know, we were using the cable machines. He was using the one next to me, 90 degrees from me. And he was slamming down his equipment. And I was like he kept slamming the weights down. Slam, slam, slam. And I was like, dude. After like the third or fourth one, because each slam, you're talking metal plates on, you know, slamming on metal plates from, you know, 4 or 5 feet. So after like the third or fourth one, I finally, like, you know, I realized it was not an accident. He was not losing his grip. He was not weak. I finally said, dude, can you not slam that stuff down? You're messing with my PTSD. And he said, what? And I said, you're messing with my PTSD. Can you not slam the equipment down? And he's like, you mind your own business. And I was like, no. And I told him, I said, you signed the same contract I did that said you won't slam equipment. So don't slam it. And by this time, you know, I'm like, I'm not trying to be nice anymore. And he stood up, and he's a couple inches taller than me, and I'm 5'11" if I stand up straight with shoes on. 5'10" and a half if I don't stand up straight or if I don't have shoes on. And you know, he started, and he took a few steps over to me, like he was trying to use his size to intimidate me. And I'm like, you are not going to intimidate me, dude. It's just not going to happen. And he got in my face. He's like, what'd you say? And I said, don't slam your equipment down. And he goes, I'll do whatever the hell I want. You need to treat me like a man. And I was like, no, I don't. You need to act like a man, and you will be treated in accordance. And he's like, no, I'm a man. You got to treat me like a man. And I was like, then act like one. And that's when he got really upset. Luckily, an employee was walking by at the time, so I flagged the employee over. He was only like 20 feet away. I flagged him over, and I was like, dude, what's the policy here about slamming equipment down? And the employee just looked at me, and he waved it off like, you know, I'm not involved in this, and he walked away. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? So the guy continued to get in my face, because now he's empowered by the employee saying I'm not involved, to where another guy had to come and drag him away. And I was like, do you know this guy? And he goes, no, but I see what's happening, and I'm gonna see I'm gonna stop it. And I was like, fair enough. So as soon as he dragged the guy away, because I was not backing down, and I think that's what the guy wanted. He wanted to be the scary guy and force me to back down, and I was like, it's not happening. So yeah, this is exactly where I came up, because I don't know if the camera caught it very well, but that Denver's back was there. So I'm just going to follow this guy and hope if he doesn't get hit, I don't get hit. But yeah, we're going to downshift there. We're going to downshift there. And there's no reason to go around the north side of the stadium, because again, it's not really that scenic. So we'll go around this side of the stadium, because this is the south-facing side is technically the front, which made no sense to me whatsoever when they built it like this. The front should have been facing the city of Denver, but you know, what do I know? Or maybe even facing, what is this? Federal? Is it Federal or is it Pecos? I honestly don't remember. I know it's not Sheridan. That's a little further. That was the west side of the Sloan's Lake Park. Yeah, not super familiar with this area, but I've been here a few times. But yeah, this guy just, you know, he kept demanding to be treated like a man when he was acting like a child, and I found it, you know, hilarious in a very sad way. Like, is this the quality of man that's being produced this, you know, in this generation, or the generation behind me? Because this is sad. And then I was listening to some stories this morning when I was, I went from the gym to Walmart. But so when I was at Walmart, I was listening to some stories about entitled people. And there was a story where a guy said literally that, I'm a man, treat me like a man. And I'm like, I know that guy. But that's what my friend says too. He's like, B words need to treat me like a man because I'm the man. B words need to do what I say because I'm the man. B words need to, take care of me because I'm the man. And I'm like, no, dude, it's an equal relationship. Maybe that's why you're not finding quality women to spend time with, because you are not, you don't want a quality woman. And when you start getting on your I'm a man high horse and you need to take care of me, they're like, bye. I ain't looking to be somebody's dad or somebody's mom, sorry. So the fence there is all fenced up. Sidewalk's all fenced up. And let's go back to pedal assist 2 because it got a little harder to pedal. Sorry, guy. Normally I'd be on the sidewalk, but you got the sidewalk fenced off. I say you because he was Denver, city of Denver employee. But yeah, I'm assuming it's it's fenced off for the lines for the football games or something. I don't know. I don't come over here during football games because I don't give a shit about football. It's about that easy. I wonder, there's a little trail down here, like one of those organic trails. I don't wonder where it goes. But we're at, yeah. I'm gonna go more than 20 miles today because if I turn around now, I'm not gonna hit 20 miles. And the river's over there, and if I go down to the river trail, which I want to because I'm tired of all this traffic and stuff, tired of the cars, tired of the sidewalks, the stop and goes and everything, then I'm gonna have, there's only so many crossing points. So we'll find one a little bit further south from here. We'll cross and we'll come up on the other side of Denver or something. It'll be fun. I'm not going to go all the way down to Mississippi though. No reason to. See, that'd be a cool house to have. I mean, the house itself is nothing special, but the location. You got this field next to you that's not being used. You got what looks like overflow parking for the Broncos across the street. So yeah, 16 Sundays a year or whatever, it'd be a pain in the ass, but other than that, you don't have neighbors on two sides of you. Sounds wonderful. So this is Kentucky, I think, or maybe not. Maybe it is. I don't know. It doesn't say. We'll go down to the next river crossing. We'll cross there and head back. And well, maybe not the next one. We'll see. We'll see what the next one is. But yeah. And then, the whole government shutdown thing that started yesterday. Because Republicans are too scared to tell Donald Trump no. Donald Trump says, I don't want to pay for anything unless it benefits Donald Trump. And Republicans are like, yeah, that works. And Democrats are like, no. There are 350 million other Americans in this country, or people in this country, that we need to worry about. Not just the whims and desires of a narcissistic fascist. And so, yeah, government got shut down because the Republicans did not have enough votes, because they haven't for decades now, ever since President Obama at least. The Republicans have not gone out of their way to meet Democrats in the middle. They have not said anything. They've stonewalled. They've said it out loud. Mitch McConnell said, we're going to turn Obama into a one-term president. And Mitch McConnell said, Republicans will not support anything that this president wants. And Mitch McConnell and other Republicans came out and said, we are not passing any legislation that benefits the Obama presidency. Yeah, Republicans have become the do-nothing party. And right now, with President Trump, they are the do-nothing party. They think that they're going to be able to slide through in their safe districts, and some of them will. Don't get me wrong. Some of them absolutely will be able to slide through in their safe districts. But they think they can slide through in their safe districts, by not pushing back on Trump, but also not accepting, Democratic priorities. Or is this Kentucky? Was this 8th? I don't know. We'll go up here though. And we will go east, which is to the left from here. Oh, I think this is 8th. Okay, so not Kentucky. And I say that because the sign there says this is 8th. It's really that simple. And once again, I hit a red light. Awesome. This Jeep setup. Now, if he actually goes camping and stuff, which it looks like he may, then fine. Yeah, spend the money, do your thing. But there's a lot of Jeeps and Toyotas and other trucks in the area that have setups like that never leave, the suburbs. Oh my God. So that happened yesterday. friend of mine sent me a picture of a garbage can. Just a picture of a garbage can. It was overflowing with garbage. And I responded with, okay, I don't know what I'm looking at. And she goes, well, you always send me pictures of the garbage at your gym, because a couple of the gyms in the franchise that I go to are disgusting. You know, they don't collect the garbage enough. They don't clean up anything. They leave garbage all over the floors and everything. So I'm like, yeah. And she goes, yeah, so I'm doing the same. And I'm like, I don't know where you're at. Like, you got kicked out of the gym you were going to. You said you weren't going to any other gyms. You were just going to use this is what I wanted to do. Dang. All right, well, we'll turn around. So I'd never been in this area over here to the east of I-25. And I kind of wanted to explore it a little bit, see what's over there. It's mostly industrial stuff. But yeah, I've just never been there. I don't think I've ever even driven through any of these areas, like, you know, getting lost or anything. So I kind of wanted to come through here and just kind of see what's about. Like, this looks like some sort of garden thing, like a giant greenhouse facility off to my right hand side here. I don't know if they're growing tomatoes, avocados, or tea or marijuana plants. No clue. It's Colorado. Could be any of the above. There's a truck behind me, but nothing I can do about that. See, like, this truck has the rooftop tent and set up and everything. Probably never goes camping. The junkyard, this actually used to be a pick pull yard. I did come here once a long time ago. I guess they pulled all the vehicles out and turned it into an event venue called the junkyard. I drove by on the interstate the other day, and there was a concert going on because they had all the lights and light show and stuff happening, which is cool. I mean, I'm not begrudging anybody, but it's not the easiest place to get to. I mean, honestly. So yeah, never been over here. There's a Nazi car right there. Nazi car. And yes, anybody who owns a Cybertruck is a Nazi or a Nazi sympathizer. You will not change my mind on that. Because if you have a Tesla and you bought it because you are green, fantastic. But then once, what's his face? Musk came out with his whole Doge thing and started making Nazi salutes and talking about how the Fourth Reich and all this other crap. I don't know if he actually said that, but he made a lot of commentary that paralleled white supremacy, which is the basic tenet of Nazism, to be honest with you. When you boil it all down, it's about white purity, and that's what white nationalism is. So the Cybertruck came out shortly thereafter, and if you bought a Cybertruck at that point, you are a freaking Nazi, or a Nazi sympathizer, or a white nationalist piece of shit. Alright, well, there was really nowhere to go over here. So, and I don't think, if I take a right here, which is the way that I came in, I don't think there's any, because that just takes you out to the interstate, which I'm not trying to do on a bicycle. See, like, this is a Tesla. If they bought it before all that, then sure, they're just trying to save the planet. But if they bought it after all that, then yeah, they're a Nazi sympathizer. And anybody who bought the Cybertruck bought us. The perfect thing that I heard the Cybertruck called was a swastika, and I was like, yep, that's perfect. What is this place? It's not a motel. Okay. It's an old motel. I can tell you that much. So now we're coming over here. And I mean, there's a lot of roadside, you get a lot of free advertising with the interstate being right here and everything, but getting back here to get to any of these businesses, especially like the quick businesses. I think there's a pot shop or two over here. I think there's a dog daycare over here. It's just like, why would anybody go out of their way to come over here? Yeah, the Dazbog coffee. I don't know if that's their corporate headquarters or a warehouse or whatever. It's not a coffee shop, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, why would anybody? Yeah, I've never been over here at all. Not even once. Yeah, fitness place, the coffee joint, yeah, pot shop. Why would anybody come over here? There's nothing around here. Unless you work in this area and this is close to you. Like, why? Yeah, doggy daycare right here. $450 a month. Holy crap. Hey puppies, what's up? I know, right? Winter Women. That was the name on this building. Winter Women, whatever that means. Winter Women's Sports, Winter Women's Clothes, Winter Women's Apparel, or a couple of family members with the last name Winter starting a business and just calling it Winter Women. You know, and maybe the business has nothing to do with the cold. Atlas Metal and Iron. Didn't even know that existed. Yeah, so this is, like I said, this is all new to me. We're just kind of exploring. And we're squeaking. And we're squeaking a lot. Squeaky, squeaky, squeaky. Squeak, 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 squeak. Yeah, you see a lot of people like this parked in areas like this. Those are homeless people who just haven't lost their vehicles yet. Living on the streets, parking where it's safe enough to park. So there's no sign here to tell me what road this is. But there are, I don't know if I should go straight or if I should turn. There's a bike lane here. Okay, I know where this goes. Sorta. I know about where it goes. No outlet. I guess we're going on the bike lane. I was about to go through there and just be like, all right, let's continue exploring, but the sign said no outlet, so here we are. No traffic. So I can get over here. Get on the right side. Train tracks. Restaurant depot, where restaurants stop. Well, to be fair, restaurants rarely ever go. So, there's that. Where restaurants shop. Sorry. That was hilarious. Damn. I read where restaurants stop, and I'm like, well, restaurants don't go. And then I saw it again. I was like, oh, where restaurants shop. Okay. Oh, yeah. So, dang. I got off track, and I apologize for that. My friend sent me a picture of a garbage can. And I was like, I don't know why you're sending me a picture of a garbage can. I've never even heard of this street before. Can I get over there? I don't know what the fuck this guy's doing. So I was going to turn and go across real quick, but then this guy stopped in the middle of traffic, in the middle of the road. He just stopped. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he just waved at me. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're doing. I don't know if you're turning. I don't know if you're trying to give me the right of way. I don't know what the hell you're doing. But I was in no way, shape, or form ready to turn. I was looking to see if I needed to turn. Osage, okay. Let's go this way down Osage real quick. So Emily Griffith School here used to be a few blocks north and like downtown Denver. I had a friend go there. She went there for beauty school. So I'd come down and get haircuts once in a while from her or one of the people. She was supposed to charge me like $10 or whatever. She never charged me, which was nice. Mountain States Telephone and Telegraph. Whew, that was a few years ago. Looks like a little water park here. Like a local rec center water park type thing. You know, looks like this building was converted into homes, which is perfectly fine. I'm a big fan of that. I love old historic buildings. I know there's a light rail station down here because I've been to it. But there's also the Buckhorn Exchange, which is what I wanted to show you. Because it is a restaurant that, I don't know if it's the oldest sitting restaurant in the United States, but definitely in Colorado. But it, yeah, right here with the red awning on about the 11:30 mark. But it's been there since the 1890s, I believe. So it's technically been there. That restaurant has sat there for in 3 separate centuries. Yeah, 1893. And here's the light rail station off to my right. So it's been there for a minute. Right here. I've never been there, but apparently it's really cool. Yeah. Apparently it's one of those places where they just have like dead and taxidermied animals all over the walls and hanging from the ceiling and stuff. I have never heard anybody tell me the food was so good I had to go there, but it's been around in 3 separate centuries, so I'm guessing the food at least is okay. I mean, does that seem like a reasonable assumption? So if you're keeping track, straight ahead, if you see the brick buildings with like the green roofs, that is Auraria campus. That is where I went to college. Pardon me. And that is where hopefully we'll just go through real quick, jump on the trail, and start to head back. I still don't think I'm going to hit 20 miles today, but, you know, close is better than not. But yeah, I keep getting distracted, and I apologize. Woman sent me a picture of a garbage can, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't know what I'm looking at. She goes, well, you send me pictures of how dirty your gym is all the time. And I was like, yeah, because she used to work at a gym. She got let go, and then she got banned. And then she got let go because a coworker filed a restraining order against her, and then the judge threw the restraining order out. But the manager would not hire her back, so now she's suing that gym, which I am complete support of. You know, you got screwed over. If you have the means to take them to court, take them to court. Good 2 or 3 years of pay out of it. You know, make them, you know, you don't want your job back, but make them pay. Make them pay. Make them, you know, pay so much that they actually end up firing the manager who let you go and the employee who filed this false restraining order against you. Do it. So she hired a lawyer, and she's in the middle of all that, but she was going to the rec center to get workouts, the local rec center where she lives. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm thinking she's sending me a trash picture of the rec center she's at. And she goes, no. She goes, it's this. And I'm like, oh, or she goes, she gave me the short name of another gym in the area. And I was like, okay, how do I know that? That's how I responded. How do I know that? How do I know where you're at? You never told me where you're at. You just sent me a picture of a garbage can. I don't know where you're at. I don't know what the context is. And I told her, I said, I don't know if you're at a supermarket. I don't know if you're at a gas station. I don't know if you're in a government building. I don't know why you're sending me this picture. And she's like, and instead of saying, yeah, my bad, I should have added more context or something, she just replies with, sorry to bother you, and then stopped returning any texts at all. And I'm like, whatever. But that's what she does. She is not a good communicator. She is not a great thinker. She's not even a mediocre thinker. And then when you call out inconsistencies like that, she just shuts down and thinks that taking away her attention is somehow some sort of punishment. And I'm like, it's not a punishment. You not talking to me is actually making my life a lot less stressful. But she doesn't understand that. And I'm not going to tell her, because then she will probably try to find reasons to talk to me, thinking that it annoys me, because it does. But, you know, this is a woman I've talked about before, and I've told her numerous times that, you know, we are not together. We are not a couple. We hang out occasionally when it's convenient for me, not convenient for you. That's it. But she started liking me and blah, blah, blah. And she thinks there's some way, shape, or form, there's something she can do or some way she can act that will have me reciprocating her affection. And it won't. Because I cannot have conversations with her. She cannot communicate. She cannot think. She cannot consider anything other than her own her immediate emotional needs. And I don't want to live in that world. I don't even want to be adjacent to that world. So, yeah, whatever. MSU, aviation, aerospace, and cybersecurity. I went in that building once. I think I was walking to the light rail station over here and I needed to throw away something. But other than that, I don't think that building existed when I went to school here. I got a car behind me again. Oh yeah, it's haunted castle time, or haunted house time. I need to start hitting some haunted houses. Oops. We're gonna go around you, we're gonna go around you. And then we will take a right. We will go up to Spear, we will jump on the trail, and we will head back. I'm at 15 and a half miles. And sadly, most of them were not 15 and a half fun miles. Excuse me, sorry. I excused myself because she tried to step out of what she thought was my way, but because of my wide turn, I had to go around her on her right instead of her left, and so she had to adjust again, and after she already tried to be nice and adjust once, so I excused myself because it wasn't her fault. So yeah, it was a very annoying interaction. And I'm like, I don't care if she sends me stuff. I don't care if anybody sends me stuff. Just put it in context. Don't just send me a random photo without telling me what I'm looking at. I was, every once in a while, YouTube recommends to me videos about, and I clicked on one for the first time about 2 years ago. I was like, I don't even know what this is, because we all hear of alpha males and betas and things like that. Sometimes you'll even hear of an omega, but I'd never heard of what was referred to as a sigma male. And I don't know if this is a legitimate psychological or sociological diagnosis, or if this is just, the same thing with alpha males, trying to beef up how special and important they are. The wannabe alpha males talking about, how alpha males are. So self-gratification, I guess, is what I'm getting at. I don't know if this is like a self-gratification thing for people who aren't alpha males but still think they are, or whatever, because I'm using alpha male because everybody knows what that entails, or the idea of what that entails. But yeah, something called sigma males. And a couple of years ago, I watched a video. I was like, okay. And I think I don't think I commented on it, but I'm like, okay, yeah, this kind of describes me. They'll say like 10 things that mean you're a sigma male. And like 9 of the 10 things describe me to the T. And then 1 would not. And I couldn't even tell you which one it was. And then, a couple, and then suddenly you watch one video. Oh, you like that? And YouTube starts giving you more. Which is how people fall down conspiratorial rabbit holes and things like that. Which, we're going to hope not to do. So fast forward, a couple days later, I watch another one. Maybe a week or two later, I watch another one. And then I start leaving a comment because all the information is just recycled. Everybody just sharing the same, 7 to 10 points about what entails a sigma male. And I leave a comment and I'm like, so I've watched a few of these videos now, and apparently a sigma male is nothing more than a confident introvert. That's all it is. It's somebody who, when it boiled down, it's somebody who is confident and assured of themselves, but does not seek the adulation or the recognition that alphas seek. That's all it is. But there's why women are attracted to Sigma males, and why Sigma males usually end up wealthy or rich, or why Sigma males are sought after in corporate environments. Those kind of videos. But it's all the same thing, just repackaged. Oops. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm not doing this. So I stopped watching them, and then poof, this morning one pops up, and I'm making breakfast and stuff, so I listen to it, and it just says regurgitates all the stuff, except at the end it says, if you agree that if you how did it say it? If you associate yourself with 1 to 2 of these aspects out of 7, I think it was, or 8, then you are near you are an individual with Sigma traits. If you associate with 3 to 4 of these, then you are. Let's bump it up to 3, just because I'm pedaling faster. If you agree, if you associate with 3 or 4, you are Sigma adjacent. If you associate with 5 or 6 of these, then you are, nearly, or you are a Sigma, a light Sigma, or something like that. If you associate with, 8 or 9 of these, congratulations, you are a Sigma male. And I'm like, okay, like pretty much all of them, described how I think and act and go through life. So I'm like, all right, whatever. But I had already had that where I thought, this is, this describes me. But I remember one time commenting on one of the article or one of the videos where I was like, yeah, so this basically just means this. And, 8 of 9 of these describe me, so blah, blah, blah. And somebody popped in and said, oh, that means you're not. And I'm like, you're trying to tell me 8 of 9 means you're not. That the only thing that matters is a perfect score. If you do not meet the perfect score, doesn't matter how you meet it, or with whether other people believe that about you, or just what you believe about yourself. You're just going to come in here in the comment section without knowing who I am, what I am, what I've been through in life, or how I think and act, and tell me that I'm not something because I only meet 8 of 9 bullet points and not 9 of 9. Are you really freaking kidding me with this? And he's like, yeah, because you have to do all of it or you're not. And I'm like, no, you don't. And for the most part, this is a self-assessment. What if my self-assessment was incorrect? Being able to spot your own biases and being able to recognize your own blind spots is part of it. Like, are you freaking kidding me? So yeah, I was just like, whatever. Like, I don't know if it's some 17-year-old kid who's just trying to be like, well, I'm not an alpha, but I don't want to be a beta. What else is in there? Never surrender. Defeat Trump. Hell yeah. So, but not just defeat Trump. Defeat Trumpism. Defeat all these Republicans out here who are acting in opposition to the Constitution of the United States, who are violating their own oaths that they swore, because Republicans are liars and hypocrites. And then now the Republicans that are listening to this, if you are, which you're probably not because I'm using big words. Hey puppy, what's up? But the Republicans, they're like, oh, well, Democrats lie. Democrats lie. Democrats don't lie. You're just too stupid to understand what Democrats are saying, so you believe it's a lie. Now, Democrats are useless. I'll give you that. If you want to say Democrats are useless, fine. Democrats are useless. I will 100%. Hey, puppy. I will 100% support you on that. On your left. Excuse me. But yeah, Democrats don't lie. You just don't understand what's happening. And so you boil it down to this person's lying because I'm too stupid to understand what's actually being said. That's why you think Democrats lie. But Democrats operate on the premise that everybody's intelligent, which is why Democrats are stupid. Because if anything, 2 elections of Donald Trump have proven that, people are not intelligent. Election of people like Lauren Boebert or Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, and countless other quote-unquote MAGA Republicans prove that people on the right are stupid. Absolutely 100%. So, yeah, don't sit here and Democrats' biggest failure is believing that everybody is intelligent. Everybody is not intelligent. Excuse me. You can even hear sometimes they'll come out and they'll be like, people aren't fools. People are intelligent. People will figure this out. People know what's going on. No, they don't. Oops. Hey, puppy. Hi. So, yeah, no, they won't. There are people out there, like, I started this off with. There are people out there who still don't understand tariffs. It's been explained over and over and over again through various mediums. Through, talk radio, podcasts, YouTube videos, news outlets. Everybody has explained what a tariff is, and there are people out there who still don't get it. They still don't get why tariffs are going to sink our nation, and why withholding money from farmers and ranchers and, excuse me, hey puppy, what's up? On a busy trail like this, I don't agree with having the dog off leash on the trail. If you're off the trail and you're letting the dog run around, fine, sure, I don't care. But on a busy trail, yeah, that just seemed like a recipe for disaster. But yeah. There are a lot of stupid people out there. There are a lot of people with sinking farms that are going to go under after generations of being in the same family because of Donald Trump's policies, because of policies they voted for, who are sitting there going, yeah, but I still support him because he's going to make everybody rich. You just have to wait. It's like, oh, I get it. We have to wait for policies designed to sink our nation to make you rich, but you couldn't wait 6 months for the big the Build Back Better bill to trickle some money down to the local economies. Okay, so how long are we supposed to wait? Or is this one of those rapture things where every couple of years you guys are going to be like, oh yeah, it's going to come any second now. We're all going to get $1 million paychecks. We're all going to get $1 million returns from the government. No, you're not. No, you're not. And that's where Democrats fail. They believe people are smart. People are not smart. People are stupid. People are interested in their own interests. They're not interested in paying attention. And then most people don't know how to evaluate media, for their, Most people don't know how to evaluate media for bias, or to seek multiple sources, or to go to the source and look at the data. I did that with a bunch of MAGA Republicans, and I still do it to this day. I'm like, here's the data, right here. Here it is. This is the data. And they're like, no, that's fake news. No, this is research compiled by the federal government. Yeah, that's fake news. Okay. Well, here's research, compiled by Harvard University, Cornell University, Oxford, somewhere. This all says the same thing. The only one saying anything different is Donald Trump. Yeah, because he's right and everybody else is wrong. Yes, that's how it works. All these people who spend their entire lives studying these things, all these experts in their field, all these people are all conspiring to agree with something to make Donald Trump look bad. That is what you are saying about this planet right now, is everybody is wrong except for Donald Trump. Well, yeah, he's the only one telling us the truth. No, he's telling you what you want to hear. And what you want to hear is the lies, because the lies are more comfortable than the truth. No, you don't understand. I do understand. That's the problem. And that's the problem Democrats don't get. is they don't understand that this is how people are. They surround, just like all politicians, and at this point we're talking about all politicians, but they get into these information bubbles. They go to their meet and greets, but it's all supporters. They go to their, $50 a head dinners or $100 a head dinners, but it's all supporters. They get lobbied by organizations that want them as allies because they know they're going to have a sympathetic ear, which means that they are on the same path. Democrats and Republicans both do that. They silo themselves. And then they sit there and go, oh, well, every Democrat, every liberal I've ever met was extremely intelligent, so everybody must be intelligent. No. But Democrats are also too nice, too inclusive to say, no, you're stupid, we're not going to listen to you. Now, a few have stood up and started doing that. AOC, absolutely. I'm trying to remember the woman's name out of Texas. But she's amazing. She points out, Republican hypocrisy and stupidity on the regular. There was that other, I can't remember if she was a congresswoman or a senator. I want to say senator, but she, famous for having her people bring in a whiteboard so she could explain it slowly for Republicans to understand what was happening. But Democrats are out there all trying to play 4D chess when Republicans are sitting there on the checkers table trying to figure out which side the red and the black go on. And then, screaming because, they can't figure it out, so you must be wrong. And Democrats haven't figured that out yet. And so, yes, I'm saying it. I'll say it again tomorrow. I'll say it again next year. Republicans are stupid. And it's a thing of their own making, which is working out for them at the moment. But, with them cutting school funding on a regular basis, with them, the No Child Left Behind Act signed by George W. Bush, saying that we're not going to teach thinking, we're not going to teach critical thinking, we're only going to teach facts that have to be memorized and regurgitated in order to pass a test. That's not what school is for. But then, you got different school districts in different parts of the country teaching different things because they're, the school boards decide what textbooks to use and they put their own biases and ideologies behind those textbooks as opposed to listening to historians and scientists and political scientists and humanities experts. So, yeah, it's a whole systematic process that the Democrats have failed at for the last 40 years. Like, I went to elementary school in the 80s. I went to junior high in the late 80s. I went to high school in the early 90s. I was in Florida. I was in the Army before somebody mentioned civics class, and I'm like, what's civics class? They're like, it's civics. And I'm like, well, what's that? Like, I'd never heard of it before because nobody in my school district, I don't know if anybody in Florida took a civics class. How government works, how it's supposed to work, how it actually works. And she, that's the second time I saw that missing persons sign. Looks like a young girl. And I say young girl, probably teen, mid to late teens. But yeah, she, I didn't know what a civics class was. And they started explaining it to me. And I was like, oh, okay, so it's kind of like social studies. Because that's where we learned a lot. And history is where we learned a lot about, the Constitution and how, the government's supposed to work, checks and balances, the difference between legislative, judicial, and executive branches, etc. But apparently some people in some parts of this country got a dedicated class to how America works. And, especially with all the distractions these days between phones and, online entertainment, video games, blah, 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 people aren't really paying, kids aren't really paying attention in school. They're trying to pass but even barely that. They think, passing with a D is the same as passing because passing is passing. They're not learning anything. And this has been, happening systematically for decades, where, each, I'll say generation of school children, but each, graduating class is just slightly dumber than the last one because they're not learning what they need to learn. But yeah, and now we got, morons who don't understand what the Constitution means. But they're out there screaming it at the top of their lungs how wrong they are, letting everybody know how wrong they are. But they're screaming it with confidence. Donald Trump was a perfect example. Something bounced up from the road and hit my foot. Now, I don't have anything on me. Nothing's fallen off the bike that I can tell. So I don't know if the tire caught something and just kicked it up. But it felt big, like a not a pencil, but oh man, that was a kid. Holy crap, that was a child. It was like 10 years old. Damn. Now I get it. But that's another thing. My truck's 28 years old. But I always believed, because I'm always preparing for the future, I always believed that it is best to have a vehicle that you own clean and clear. Worst case scenario, you might have to live in it. And I have always believed that. It has been a source of frustration for my mom because she's been wanting me to she doesn't like old things. She likes new things. I don't have a problem with my truck, except, sometimes it breaks and I gotta pay to repair it. Or repair it myself, depending on what it is. But, the American way is to always have the latest and greatest, the flashiest, whatever you can afford. Oh, you're doing well at your company? Okay, well, you go buy a brand new car. You have an $800 a month car payment. You're living month to month. You lose your job. Suddenly, you can't afford your car. You can't afford your rent. You can't afford anything. So you and your kid are sleeping under a bridge. That shouldn't happen. We're not teaching people to think. We're teaching people to be consumers. We're teaching people to be cogs in the machine rather than to evaluate the machine and wonder, if it's worth the trouble. Okay, so this guy's got a recycling bin full of just random stuff. Oops. Excuse me. For a second there, I thought it was that one dude that lives in my building who, like this guy, collects random stuff and then tries to sell it. But maybe they're doing, they're not collecting random stuff. Maybe they're collecting metal recycling. Because I did have a friend tell me that she was going to try and get into scrap metal recycling because there's a lot of money in it right now. So maybe that's what these guys are doing. They're just collecting whatever scraps they can find so they can turn it into $15. Pardon me, which I don't begrudge. I really wish there were aluminum recycling places, because like cans like that, and it's not even the soda cans, because most soda's sold in bottles these days, I think. But you have all those other cans, the cans from all the energy drinks and, was that like Ghost or something, whatever, the water. I didn't even know what it was. I thought it was another energy drink. But yeah, there's another brand out there that has like a cool name, like Demon Squirt or something. But yeah, it comes in an aluminum can and it's just water. It doesn't need to be in a can. But aluminum is highly recyclable. Highly. I think it's like 99.9% recyclable. So in the recycling process, you only lose like 1% of the aluminum. So yeah, I'm a big fan of aluminum cans and whatnot right now versus plastic. Yeah, I'm also a big fan of the reusable bottles and stuff like that too. So, but that's me. I actually care about the planet. I care about future generations. I care about, the animals, and whether or not, humanity will be able to, not only humanity, but all living life will be able to survive. All because humans want to be cheap. And that bothers me. So, yeah. So yesterday, about right here, I think, I had to jump off the bike and start walking it up the hill because 80-pound bike is a little heavy to go up something this steep, even in the lowest gear I have. Okay. And yes, the camera can't catch, but every time I come to an intersection and I seem to go through, I am looking both ways. I am checking over my shoulder. I am making sure that it is safe. If I didn't have the earpieces in, I would probably be even more aware of my surroundings, because I do use my ears a lot when I'm doing anything. I listen for traffic. I listen for footsteps. I listen for everything. We have these ears. Why not use them? These people live in my building. They're a brother and sister team. They don't live together. They live in separate units, but they live in my building. All right, how are you? Good. Oh, I just got back from there. They were walking to the bus stop. Yeah. Anywho, they're nice. They're both. Well, she's a veteran. I'm not 100% sure if he's a veteran. I want to say they both are, but I know for a fact she is. She's an Air Force veteran. But yeah, we're under the bridge. I usually try to stop recording about now, and I think now is a good time to stop recording, so I'm going to do it. Thanks for coming along, and we will talk to you later. Probably tomorrow. Bye.